Well, hey, I'm Jeff Baumgartner with Light Reading. We're here in Atlanta at Tech Expo 2024 with the SCTE, and I'm joined by Ed Boyd with Ciena. So, Ed, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jeff.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk a little bit about PON, okay? So, let's talk about implications, right? Is broadband, or what are the implications of broadband once you kind of get past 10G PON, and what are the considerations for the operators to plan beyond that?
So what we see from customers is they're thinking about different SLAs, what they can provide to their customer.
So service level agreements?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Service level agreements. And today you see 5 gig SLAs that's been announced by some operators and even 8 gig. What most people want to see is a 10 gig SLA. And that's where some of the higher speed PONs allow that to be possible, to sell a 10 gig SLA, which is what an enterprise or a customer would connect into their LAN network, right, at the home or at the business or enterprise.
Right, and what do you kind of need though to get an SLA that's 10 gig? I mean, like, what kind of headroom do you need for that?
That's a great question. So it depends on the use case. And residential, the oversubscription, you know, just having 10 gig, one 10 gig pipe would probably be enough. In enterprise, commercial type services, it's going to need to be a little bit more than that.
Good.
The other thing is the rest of the network. In the old days, we would have said that a lot of people are idle. Now the home network is never idle. There's always bandwidth.
There's something always connecting.
There's something always connected, yeah. Right. So if you have 64 ONUs on there, you have 64 home gateways, cameras, whatever, alarm systems, all the different things, and it's going to continue to grow. This is not the person turning on and off their computer being the only consumption of bandwidth is a thing of the past.
Okay. Now, what is it about PON that makes it appealing to businesses versus other types of alternatives?
So the great thing about PON for an operator is when you drive one fiber deep into the network, you can connect up 64 customers or 32 customers, whatever split ratio you have. So the time that it takes to add a customer to provide service is a lot easier. And as PON is fiber is deployed around the country, in most instances, you might have 1 or 2 PON fibers that could get to you. So it is a very fiber conservative way of reaching a subscriber. And for the customer, the high bandwidth of PON allows for a different SLA than you would get with point-to-point. So with point-to-point, you might get a connection of 1 gig. Or maybe even a 10 gig, which you pay a lot of money for because you'd have a dedicated fiber. In the PON world, you could get an SLA that's a guaranteed 1 gig and up to 10 gig that would be much more affordable for both the operator and the subscriber.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about 25G PON, right? So how does that enhance PON's capabilities, and what does it mean for both residential services as well as business, commercial?
So 25G PON is almost a simple speed up of the 10 gig GPON. So from a cost point of view, it's incremental. It's not a huge technology leap. It's faster, requires a little more link budget, but in general, it's in the incremental ramp that you'd expect. It gives you about, after the forward air correction and the other overheads, about 20 gig, 21 gig to play with. So now that 10 gig SLA is real. So as an operator, I could provide a customer a 10 gig SLA and still have 10 gig to handle all the other stuff, whether that's 2 guys trying to use it at the same time, or just like I said, the background traffic that comes from all the in the home devices. It allows a 10 gig SLA to be really feasible.
Okay. So we're talking 25 gig PON. What comes after 25 gig PON and why?
So the ITU has a 50 gig PON that right now is an asymmetric version. So 50 gig down, 25 gig up. And they also have a spec for a 50-50 50 gig in both directions. That allows for a lot of the functions that you would have seen with point-to-point Ethernet, a lot of those commercial and enterprise services to come onto PON as well. Again, taking advantage of the fiber, the mass fiber deployment of the PON, set of fiber to give services. The great thing about the newer speeds of PON is they don't take over the fiber. They overlay on top of the fiber, and the old services are still there.
So you run concurrently?
Exactly.
Essentially? Okay.
So you don't have to upgrade everybody to 50 gig PON.
I see. All right.
Now, the other option that is in the standards bodies right now, is being discussed, is 100 gig PON. And one of the variants of that is 100 gig coherent PON. Coherent gives you a much larger optical budget. And what does that mean? More people a lot further away. You can connect up more ONUs off the same fiber. So a bigger spread. So again, makes it more economical. 100 gig coherent is also provides the ability to have tunable wavelengths. And so potentially you could have 400 gigs on the same fiber. So in addition to your XGS 10 gig or 10 gig EPON that you have today, you could overlay 1, 2, 3, or 400 gig overlay wavelengths and really pick up high bandwidth subscribers. So instead of 10 gig SLAs, we could talk about 25 gig SLAs, 50 gig SLAs.
Interesting. You brought up coherent optics. We're here at the cable show, and we know that cable's been looking at coherent PON. So there's another application, I guess, for that technology.
Absolutely. Ciena acquired Tibit about a year and a half ago, and Tibit had the PON technology, the OLT PON technology that you see in XGS and 10 gig EPON. And Ciena, as you know, is a leader in coherent. So with their PHY technology and our PON MAC and software management stack, you can put together a really exciting offering for access.
All right, well, it's something we're going to be keeping an eye on. I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. So Ed, great to see you here in Atlanta. Appreciate all your thoughts.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the time.
So thank you.
Thank you.